I do happen to have a recording of a certain U.S. representative soliciting sex from a minor.
Oh, that Matt Gaetz piece of shit?
So it's not looking very good for Childfucker Gaetz.
I hope they get what they have coming to them.
Re-election?
This was in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably.
Well, guess what?
What?
We're about to crack this case wide open because I just received a very interesting recording in my inbox.
What kind of recording?
It's an audio recording of Matt Gaetz having phone sex with an underage girl. Hey, baby girl. Are you ready to get freaky, little girl?
Good morning, everyone. I'll leave you a link in the description. It gets really disgusting, and I don't know if, like, some of the beeped out parts where you can hear a minor, if that really is the minor in question right now. So I'll just leave it at that. This is KBOO Radio. That is a very recent, that's a recent show. And here, Portland leftist radio host was accused of grooming a young Canadian girl. There was an arrest 3 days ago. He actually went to Canada. This guy's bold. He kidnapped a girl from Canada who was 13 years old. Who is this person? It is a famous KBOO radio, not only DJ, but he was, like head of programming and, the big cheese on campus and Mr. Cool at the radio. And it's got all kinds of shout outs from other radio stations telling him he made the future better and, all of the amazing things he's done. He's now on bail for $500,000. And it's weird. When I was looking for his story, this story popped up, which is from earlier this year, and this was a Portland artist who was killed in a murder-suicide by her son. And I couldn't find anything like on the crime channels about it, but the kind of note or whatever, the reason why was the son said that she had put him in harm's way as a child and he had been sexually abused. We have some similar cases like that here. So it's not only the men on the left. It was just weird that popped up, and I've kind of been having weird ideas. Now, what is this? This was a bit of a tie-in. These are Cuban forced labor camps, which are still going on now. It's really part of it. And I remember meeting this really creepy minister that was going down to Cuba. He was from Bellingham. Thank God I don't remember his name. I'd get in trouble for doxing, and it's like early. But he was like Methodist, Presbyterian, kind of Lutheran, one of those sort of watered down types, and he'd wear like little rainbow suspenders and had a denim shirt he would wear with khakis and a giant Santa Claus beard. He was probably in his mid-70s, in jolly good shape from, good living up in Bellingham. And, he came down with a group that were going to Cuba. He was staying at my place. We were one of these port of entries. And I had just heard about the labor camps. I haven't been to Cuba myself, but I would hear all the tales coming back. And one day I'll tell you why I didn't go. Maybe I will in this one. Because I was supposed to be a videographer for a Cuba caravan. This woman detailed her experience there. And what I had heard about the Cuba camps from people who go is that, and it's hard to find much on Google, a lot has been scrubbed, but children are taken away at the age of like 11 or 12 in Cuba to go work in these forced labor camps. That is what they do. The children do not stay with their parents. They are owned by the state, all right? And that's just kind of how it is. So, you know, to me, that's extremely disturbing. I don't think I'd want my daughter taken and put in a place like this. When I asked about it, like, what are the problems there, I was told by one of the experts that goes down there, well, there's a lot of trouble with pregnancies because, you know, you just have a couple of guards there watching the kids, and they just have like a little, what I was told, they just have like little curtains between the male and the female is how they're sort of divided up, and that the men come in and they have sex with the girls, and that's where a lot of the pregnancy comes about in Cuba. And I was just horrified. I was so horrified in so many ways, you know, that your children, so here's a lady here, so that little girl's going to be taken away at 12 from her, this woman in Havana, you know, whether she likes it or not. That's just what happens to the kids. It's just horrible. So I brought that up, and that minister was in the room. I said, oh my God, it's so horrible in Cuba that they send children out to go work in the bean fields or whatever, and they don't even see their parents. And this is a minister in Bellingham of a, like I said, it was either Methodist, Lutheran, or Presbyterian. You know, the kind of watered down Christianity thing. And he looked at me and said, well, they're 12. They're not children. And I just got the creepiest vibe from him. Like, it just, you know, and I had done another video, and this was a guy that I had found on the internet. And I'll just let you see a piece of it again. He was a sex tourist, and this was a question he was answering about where is the best sex tourism in the world.
Like I said, as far as Castro is concerned, he's always welcomed as a tourist. And I just did a video on Tijuana. We were talking about how the police and how the Mexican police and everybody screws. He was the complete opposite. They totally cater to the tourists. They don't mess with them. The cops don't mess with you. You're as safe as a kitten. You don't really have to worry. They don't. I mean, Castro has laid down strict martial law on its police and its citizens. The law being, do not fuck with the tourists. Don't mess with them, and they don't. So it's cool. It's my favorite place, and I'm surprised I've only been here twice.
Yeah, he even goes on to say that, like, he saw in the schools where they were teaching the kids, like, how to, you know, sexually pleasure tourists, you know, and that you can just walk up to anyone on the street. If you just see some guy sitting there and you want to, you know, stick something in their mouth, that's, you know, up to you. That it's basically like an Epstein Island for tourists. And yes, everyone that's living there is the sex slave, no matter what their sex is or whatever. I'm not saying this doesn't happen on the right. I've been watching that creepy quiverful movement for years. I'm always sort of just against movements in general. But it's morally wrong, in whatever it is they're following, the Bible or whatever, Jesus, I don't know. And yet there isn't really a moral, they're not breaking any rules on the left. There is no safety net for children. And it's not only the men. This Portland mother. This is a story I've heard over and over again here in Olympia. I haven't even brought it up because it's hard to pin it down, and yet it is so there, where you have the exploitation of children. There's nothing sacred for children with the mothers either, and we have a bad case here. I'm just not covering it because it's a little too close to home, if you know what I'm saying. But this is a problem I'm finding with the left. There was a woman, as you heard at the beginning of that radio segment, kind of laughing, not the underage one on the recording. And her name is Karen Green, and what I read is that she's just scrubbed everything. There is something interesting about the intellectual sort of dishonesty going on here. It's really crude, it's really terrible, and he was caught in a motel room with this poor girl. Her parents, of course, are just glad that their child is alive. But this is all the way totally creepy kidnapping. And he even told her things like that he was going to have sex with her corpse, the little girl. So she's really lucky she lived. This is a total psychopath moment, but it's also a total, he's just your standard libtard. I've met so many guys like him on the left. And like I said, women too, that seem to like to fuel this type of perversion. It's, part of their whole satanic thing. And I'm sorry, I brought it down by accident. I also had something where there's a lot of things about, this type of behavior being okay in the New York Times, the New York Slimes, as we say. So this is KBOO Radio. If you give them money, if you were a big donor, they said they would give you Antifa things. That's in some of the articles here, and I'll give you again links to these articles. It's just a little bit grotesque. And once again, he was not only a DJ, this was a big programming manager running the show at KBOO, the big, mega, really the big Antifa station, everybody. Much love. And, stay safe out there. There's a lot of creepiness. Much love.